Hey everyone, it's Bill here again with part 19 of my Piano for Beginners series. As I always say at the start of these things, if you're new, then you probably need to start earlier in the series, because by now we're beginning to deal with relatively advanced stuff, and I'm going to be assuming that you're comfortable with lots of the terminology, skills and other material that we've covered in those earlier tutorials in this series. So if you're new, go and check out the series playlist. You'll find it linked right underneath this tutorial in the description text. Okay, so in this tutorial we're going to be learning some new scales to add to your arsenal of exercises, and also a little bit of new music theory that you can just start to think about. Let's get going. Let's start off by running through the scales that we've looked at so far. Now remember, every scale, major or minor, has its own related key, and a piece that's in the key of, F major, for example, will mostly, maybe not exclusively, but mostly use notes from the scale of F major. We indicate key by using key signatures. So at the start of every single line of music, right after the clef, you will see a key signature, which will consist of either sharps or flats, or no sharps and flats at all. So the very first scale we learned was C major, which has no sharps or flats. It's just the white notes on the piano keyboard from C to C. Okay, so that was the scale of C major over 2 octaves with hands together. We've also learned 3 major scales that have sharps in their key signatures: G major, D major and A major. G has 1 sharp. There we go, the scale of G major with 1 sharp, F sharp. By the way, when we're talking about scales and keys, if we don't say major or minor after the letter, it means major, okay? So that is the scale of G or G major. If it were the scale of G minor, we would always say G minor. So there's G major with 1 sharp. D major has 2 sharps, F sharp and C sharp. And then A major has 3 sharps, F sharp, C sharp and G sharp. Now a really interesting thing, if you look at the piano keyboard, is the distance between the tonic notes, the starting notes of those scales that we've just looked at. There's C, which has no sharps or flats. G has 1 sharp, D has 2 sharps, and A has 3 sharps. Now look at the distance between those notes. In each case, the distance is equal. C to G on the piano keyboard is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 notes up the scale of C. G to D is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 notes up the scale of G. D to A is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 notes up the scale of D. So what happens if we go another 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 notes up the scale of A? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We get to E, and as we'll see in a moment, the scale of E major has 4 sharps. Now we've also learned, we'll come back to that in a second, we've also learned the scales of F and B flat major. I think we did B flat back in lesson 14, and both F and B flat have flats in the key signature. F has 1 flat, B flat. And B flat has 2, B flat and E flat. Again, look at the relationship on the piano keyboard. Start down here. C has no flats, F has 1 and B flat has 2. Each time in this case it's 1, 2, 3, 4 notes up. Okay, so if we go 1, 2, 3, 4 notes up from F, we get up the B flat, up the F major scale, we get to B flat, and if we go 4 notes up from B flat, which which has 2 flats in its key signature, we get to E flat. And as we'll see in a moment, the scale of E flat major has 3 flats. Those distances, by the way, of 5 notes and 4 notes are types of what we call interval. An interval is the distance between any 2 notes on the piano keyboard, and the one we've mostly dealt with so far is the interval of an octave. I'm not going to dig really deeply into intervals now, but it's worth knowing that all intervals have names. So that 4 note distance is an interval of a fourth, or we just call it a fourth for shorthand, as it were, and that 5 note interval is a fifth. And it's just worth bearing that terminology in mind as you begin to learn more about music theory. We also learned some minor scales, both in their natural and harmonic forms. We started off with A minor, which has got no sharps or flats in its key signature, so in its natural form it shares the same notes as the scale of C major. Okay, it's what we call C major's relative minor. It's just the white notes of the piano keyboard, but starting on A and finishing on A, rather than starting and finishing on C's. So there's A natural minor. Okay, we learned how to form a harmonic minor, which is the same with any harmonic minor scale. You take the natural minor scale, find the 7th note of the scale and sharpen it by a single semitone, a single half step. So in the case of a harmonic minor, what we're doing is taking the A natural minor scale, but instead of playing G, we're playing G sharp. Okay, and you've got that fairly distinctive, quite tricky jump, okay, up to the sharpened 7th that you get in the harmonic minor scales. We also learned D minor, which has 1 flat in its key signature. Okay, so C has no sharps or flats, F has 1 flat, distance of a fourth. Remember, look at A to D, again it's a distance of a fourth. So D minor, D natural minor, D harmonic minor, we just sharpen the 7th, so C becomes C sharp. And there's that big gap, so distinctive of the harmonic minor scales. And then we learned G minor, a fourth above D, so it has 2 flats, B flat and E flat. It's the relative minor scale of B flat major. There's its natural form, and in its harmonic form we sharpen the 7th, which is the F. Okay. There's G harmonic minor. Today we're going to learn E minor, which has 1 sharp. Look at that, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 notes above F, a fifth above F, just in the same way that G is a fifth above C. And like G, E minor has 1 sharp. It's the relative minor scale of G major. Finally, we learned the broken chords of C and G major and A and E minor. Okay, we've done that fairly recently, so I won't play through those today. What I should do today is say that if all this talks of, me talking about flats and sharps and intervals and relative minors and so on is boggling your brain, don't worry about remembering it all for now. Okay, you don't actually need to know all of that simply to play, at least at a basic level, but get to grips with the fact that this theory is there, and it might be useful to kind of get a good grasp on it as your piano playing and your general musical skills develop over the next year or two. But don't worry too much about remembering it all for now. Just go through it and try to get to grips with what I'm saying about the underlying theory behind these scales. So let's learn those new scales. We'll kick off by looking at E flat major. And I should say that, as usual, all the new scales we're looking at today are written down in this tutorial's PDF, which you can find linked in the description text underneath this video. Now with E flat major, I'm actually going to start off by showing you the left hand, because it uses exactly the same fingering as the left hand for B flat major. Okay, so we've always got our third on the note B flat, and we're crossing over between G and A flat with our fourth on the A flat. And when you get to the top, you don't need to use your third on the E flat there if you don't want to, just snip over with your second. Okay, and back down, 4th on the A flat, thumb, 3rd, okay, to finish down there. Now the right hand of E flat major is a little bit different from B flat, basically because the black notes are in different positions compared to in the first 5 notes of B flat, and that makes moving your thumb in the same place awkward. The finger that's mainly going to land on E flat is our 3rd, but right at the bottom you can start with your 2nd and just nip under like that with your thumb. Okay, so let me just play it through. Okay, now we've got a tricky bit just there. That B flat a 4th there, and we're getting under to our thumb on the C, 4th to 1st. That's a little bit awkward. Just watch me do that. And again on the way down, thumb on C over to B flat. It's a bit of a, me and my funny arms, it's a real stretch, but most people are going to find that quite awkward. Okay, so pay particularly close attention to that. Try and be as smooth as you can when you are doing that. Okay, let me just play those two again. I won't put them together, just so you can watch. Left hand, nip over with a 2nd at the top, and right hand, and watch out for that awkward transition between the B flat and the C. It's really hard not to thump there. I find it really hard not to thump, but there we go. Next up is E major, which has 4 sharps: F sharp, C sharp, G sharp and D sharp, which sounds mightily scary, but actually is fairly straightforward here, because it uses the same fingering as the scales of C, G, D and A major. So if you've been practicing those, then E should fall under your fingers pretty naturally. The tricky thing comes with the sheer number of black notes here. You can run into problems transitioning between white and black, especially in the left hand, okay, because in the left you've got this tricky little bit at the start where we've got the E to the F sharp on our 2 weakest fingers, on our 5th and our 4th. So really work on that. That should be a little bit of a challenge. I find it really difficult to play this scale evenly, but you know, really kind of aim at it. This is one of the reasons why we practice scales, guys. Yeah, you know, to practice our strength, to practice our dexterity, to get comfortable with difficult movements on the piano keyboard. There we go, not bad. There's kind of a similar thing going on with E minor and C minor, the 2 minor scales that we're looking at today, because in both their natural and harmonic forms they have the same fingering as A minor. Okay, so if you've been practicing A minor, E minor and C minor shouldn't present big problems. E minor is the relative minor scale of G major, so it has an F sharp in it. And I'll play through the natural and harmonic versions. I'll just do it 2 hands together, yeah, just to speed us on through the tutorial. If you need to work out the notes, just have a look in the PDF. Okay, so straight away we can see in E minor we've got a similar sort of problem as we had in E major, so do work hard on that left hand there. Here's E natural minor. Okay, and E harmonic minor. C minor is the relative minor of E flat major, so it has a B flat, an E flat and an A flat, and again the same fingering as A minor. First of all, here's the natural version, C natural minor. And C harmonic minor, and remember, because it's harmonic minor we're sharpening the 7th, which is B flat, so that becomes B natural, and we get that kind of characteristic gap that we see excuse me, in the harmonic minor scales. Here we go. Lovely, really lovely angry sounding scale there. Okay, So have a go at those and see how you get on. As usual, as I said, go for them hands separately, at least at first. And as with all your scales, don't worry if you're struggling to put your hands together at this stage, even with the easy ones like C and A minor. It's more important to focus on a good quality, even sound in your left and right hands. Now we're getting towards the end of this beginner's series, yeah, and I think we, it's been a long time, but I think we're maybe going to have a couple more tutorials after this one dealing with a piece and the final one kind of a roundup, yeah, and there are still quite a lot of scales we haven't covered. Now if you want to learn the rest of them, and I would really suggest you do, and maybe some more broken chords and other exercises, then you can either find them online, or even better, you can get hold of a copy of every piano teacher's favourite book, the ABRSM Manual of Scales. We're still in the middle of moving house, so my copy's in a box somewhere, yeah, so I'll give you a screenshot here. The ABRSM is the Associated Board to the Royal Schools of Music, the major examining body for the UK, which actually kind of sets a de facto standard for a lot of this stuff across the English-speaking world, actually. And the Manual of Scales has everything you need to know, and it's available internationally. Just check out Amazon or Book Depository or whatever, and it's not that expensive. It really is worth the money. It's about 10 quid if you're in the UK, depending on where you buy it, and having a quick look on Amazon US, it seems to be around $20 in the States at the time of me making this tutorial. Well worth your money. Do go and learn the rest of those scales. I don't want to make loads more beginners tutorials just full of scales. Yeah, you're now at the stage where you can go and learn them by yourself. So you've now got at least 8 major scales, 4 minor scales in natural and harmonic forms, and 3 broken chords to work on, and a whole world of stuff to discover, like chromatics and melodic minors and things if you get the ABRSM Manual of Scales. And hopefully you're finding they're making a difference to your finger control, to how comfortable you are at the keyboard, and also kind of to your touch and your precision and your ability to execute stuff like legato and staccato, as well as your general kind of ability to control what you're doing and put expression and feeling into your playing. What I want you to do for your homework this week is to learn those new scales, and if you can, spend some extra time working on all your scales, focusing as always on being smooth, controlled, regular and even. Okay, so as I've already said, we're getting towards the end of the series now, but you're not at the end of your piano journey, you're just at the start of it, so keep working hard. As I've already suggested, maybe get out there into the music stores and find some easy stuff you can work on yourself, or go to imslp.com, the free music website online. I am actually working on some easy pieces which I'm going to publish in the next few weeks. Hope to have them out by now, but we're kind of, as I say, in the middle of this epic house move and dealing with boxes of stuff and storage and solicitors and all those dreadful things, so things haven't moved quite as fast as I would want to, but when those do come out, I will put announcements out on all my social media channels. Speaking of social media, if you're not following me on Facebook and Twitter, then the links are below. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel. If by some wild chance you're not subscribed to my channel, then just hit the red button in the bottom right hand corner of the screen, and check out my book, How to Really Play the Piano, the Stuff Your Teacher Never Taught You, which kind of covers chords and improvisation and all the stuff that I haven't touched on in this deliberately quite traditional series, yeah. But if you want to play jazz and blues and pop and that kind of thing, all the stuff that I cover in my other tutorials, How to Really Play the Piano is the book you need. Finally, big massive thanks to those of you who support me on patreon.com, www.patreon.com/BillHilton. A little bit of crowdfunding is very useful. If you're just giving $1 or $2 or $3 per tutorial, then that really makes a difference, and it helps me just by a little bit more time that I can spend doing piano stuff, planning cool stuff to put on the channel in the future. So big thanks to you guys. Okay, there we go. I'm going to go and have my lunch, I think, and maybe a cup of tea, and I will see you next time. Don't forget, if you have any questions, by the way, as always, just stick them in the thread underneath the video, and I will be more than happy to answer them. See you soon.